evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beer Blather 290. Oh my God, this is growing up. Actions and consequences. I'd like to know at what point precisely Americans forgot that to every action there is a consequence. For certainly, these days, it seems many have forgotten. Act like a moron in front of police. Spit in their faces, throw stones, molotov cocktails or water bottles. Block patrol cars, prisoner transport vans, and access points to courthouses, jails, and detention centers. When they finally start arresting people, resist arrest, react violently, and scream for your mama, and you're screwed. Don't act surprised. The bruises and the criminal record you get are well earned. Use your platform on TV to lambast your employers, offend your audience, and upset your sponsors. When you get canned, scream First Amendment, play the victim, and get bent. You're out. Shoot and kill people whose words offend you, and then go on a bragging spree on Discord. Congratulations, you won the grand prize. If you manage to skirt the electric chair, you'll get a short and violent stint in a federal prison, ending in your demise, probably with some instrument lodged in your sphincter. And nobody, but nobody, will give a crap. Enter the country legally, lie in your visa application, or dedicate your state to committing acts of sedition against your government, support terrorists, and disrupt campuses. And you'll have your arse shipped to the hellhole whence you came, no matter how many years you manage to break the law. The era of accountability is back. Americans are tired of being held hostage by a loud minority of often violent lawbreakers. And all the Iranos, Schiffs, Blumenthal's, and Sanders of this world will not save them. Actions have consequences. It does not matter how a band of intellectual misfits try to gaslight America with false dichotomies and other sophomoric fallacies. Your goose is cooked. We are tired of your ilk. Time to pay the piper. This is Solmontes Bradley, the largest human repository of useless information from my perch in, or I should say, Golden Cage in Florida. And right next to me there is Thomas Victor, the only living expert in World War One flamethrowers and so many exquisite things, suffering stoically under the iron fist of the dictator of the Banana Republic of California. God, we'll talk about this, Thomas, because he's been more ridiculous than ever this week. So, how are you, my friend? And how are things in the Banana Republic?
Well, our idiot governor threatened the secretary of the Department of Homeland Security when she comes here. He promised that she's going to have a bad day. So our governor has been referred to the Secret Service because he threatened a cabinet secretary. And this is the guy who's going to save the Democratic Party in 2028.
If his brain doesn't melt before then, wasn't he also celebrating today the passing of a law in California that requires all federal agents to show their faces?
Yeah, and since federal
How the fuck
agents
is he gonna do it?
since federal agents aren't under California's jurisdiction, I mean, talk about wasting your time but see, okay, leftists aren't done screwing up. They're not done losing support. They're just getting started. And it wasn't enough for them to murder Charlie Kirk. They're now trying to disrupt any memorial service for him. and disrupt it in the worst possible ways. And this is amazing. They're hurting only themselves. There are conservative influencers and social media people who I can tell are hurt, but it's like if you okay, we had a possum that lived in this pot on our front porch. Now you can go out and you can pull up a chair and try and convince the possum to leave. Nothing's going to happen. A possum is going to act like a possum, and it's going to hiss at you. And if it's pushed hard enough, it'll attack you. It'll play dead. So we took it in its pot and we relocated him. And that was how we dealt with him, because he was a possum. And conservatives getting hurt by what leftists say, getting shocked and outraged by what leftists say. I mean, I'll repeat what I said right after it happened. After Charlie Kirk was murdered, I did not spend any time surveying what leftists were saying, because I knew exactly what they would say. They're leftists. And it costs them a hell of a lot of support, but they're not done yet. They're still going to lose more support. They're getting more and more violent, and unfortunately, I think there's going to be at least one more life taken.
More.
And because, okay, conservatives are reporting more death threats than ever in their entire history of being in social media and on TV and whatever. Ben Shapiro has 100 security agents. And this is because he supports Israel. That's it. And of course, because he's anti-abortion and anti transmogrification of children. So
you don't have to sell him to me. I like him. He's a bench.
Well, see,
I know where he lives, but I'm not going to tell you here on air.
Well, what we're going to have to see, I mean, okay, you would think after Charlie Kirk, conservatives would get it. I'm hearing conservatives wishing that people like Destiny, who just got demonetized on YouTube, they're saying, I hope he someday comes around. It's like, he's not going to come around. And why would you hope that? I hope he loses everything. I hope he ends up living under a bridge in a cardboard box. That's what I hope. Because
in Tanzania.
Exactly. Hassan Piker. Why are you complaining about what Hassan Piker says? Hassan Piker is going to say Hassan Piker things. I hope he loses everything. He won't, because his parents are billionaires, and he's, he could have all his shows demonetized and he would be fine. His parents would send him an allowance and everything would be great. But this notion that there's a human left in these people who may someday see the light, it isn't going to happen. I saw a young man sitting in his car, made a video, and he said, the Charlie Kirk assassination hit me especially hard because I finally realized something. We can't exist with these people. We cannot coexist with them. It's not possible. And
they have made it so.
Of course. This isn't a fight we picked. This is a fight they started, and we'll end it. They'll all be voted out of power. And if in a city like Chicago, if they don't want the National Guard to bring down the crime, then they can rot. That's fine. Every leftist.
No, they're not going to rot. They're going to get the National Guard whether they want to or not.
Well, okay, that's fine. Fine. Either way, my inclination would be to let them rot and let them see all these other cities that like DC, that have improved. But there's no coming back for the majority of these people. They are creatures of pure hatred. That's what motivates them, is hatred for dissent. That's why they murdered Charlie Kirk, of all people. I mean, there was a man cheering his head off seconds after it happened. Think about that. No shock, no horror, happiness. So,
yep, celebration. And once you've reached that point, this is what I've always said. Once people do or say certain things, you no longer have to worry about their welfare. So don't spend a second of your time worrying about Destiny's welfare. Destiny's made his bed, and whatever happens to him, he brought down on his own stupid head. So just put him out of your mind. I don't listen to Destiny. I don't listen to Hassan Piker. I don't listen to any leftists, and I'm told we should, because we need to know what the other side is thinking. I know what they're going to say before they think it.
Exactly. I can predict everything they're going to say. I know what they're thinking because they're cartoon characters.
Yes.
On the other hand, I don't know what many conservatives are going to say about certain things. There are certain, I knew that they would all come out in violent opposition to the murder of Charlie Kirk. But when it comes to specific issues, a lot of the times I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know how they think.
No, and even there are some idiots. With the death of Charlie Kirk, we're missing a golden opportunity to reconcile this nation. Bullshit! The opposite is true.
Who the fuck said that?
Oh God, I've been reading it all day yesterday from classic Republicans.
But see,
people like Crystal.
That's what the actor Tim Robbins said about Al Qaeda after 9/11. Yeah. He said this is a golden opportunity to reconcile with Al Qaeda. It's like,
Speaking of which,
no.
Speaking of which, your friend Tulsi Gabbard released a report from the Directorate of National Intelligence warning law enforcement agencies around the country that Al Qaeda is preparing an attack. No shit. You need a memo? How long have you and I been warning people, essentially since the debacle in Afghanistan, that this was going to bring Al Qaeda attacks? That Al Qaeda is reestablishing its base of operations in Afghanistan and its training camps, and they already have thousands of operatives in Europe and in the US, courtesy of Biden, because everybody thinks that the open border crisis has to do only with, I don't know, tomato pickers from Tamaulipas. And they don't realize that we've had people from 160 countries enter the US illegally, and among them, many known terrorists. I don't know whether to laugh or cry when I read reports from Homeland Insecurity during the Biden administration that among the illegals that entered through the southern border, there were 800 known terrorists. Holy shit! It took 19 of them to take down the towers, bomb the Pentagon, and land a plane in Pennsylvania.
Well, Trump declared Antifa a terrorist group, and he did that so that we can go after the funders. And as you pointed out, the funders are going to be mostly Organizing for America, which is Obama's group.
Yeah.
So Obama is perfectly fine with Al Qaeda coming into this country and carrying out terrorist attacks, because in Obama's tiny mind, we deserve it. And we deserve it because reasons. Biden as well. Okay, Biden, before Biden got dementia, Biden felt that we deserved it. What's really amazing, I saw a documentary years ago. It was about a guy, it was made in Saudi Arabia. And it was about a young Saudi man who worked on an assembly line in a car factory. This guy had taught himself to speak perfect English by watching movies. And he'd been exposed to Western ideas by watching movies. He never left Saudi Arabia. He was not from the wealthy classes. And he was very open-minded. And he said that he would enjoy seeing Saudi Arabia become more westernized, and he would enjoy being able to walk in public with his female friends without worrying about people attacking them or whatever. So this is a blue-collar guy in Saudi Arabia who's more patriotic towards the United States than two past presidents, you know. And someone like Obama is an arrogant bastard who he's never going to see whatever it is coming. And I think Obama is going to be targeted, especially if they find out that he's been funding Antifa for the last 15 years.
BLM.
And BLM. BLM led a march, and it was full of retarded people who couldn't speak, but they were chanting "fuck Charlie Kirk." And I mean, why not lead a march where you're demanding that Democrats stay home on election day? I mean, that's what you're doing. You're basically, this is a form of political suicide. The left is committing political suicide in a way that I've never seen in the history of any country anywhere on the planet. Nobody has been this insane. And it's because they are governed entirely by hate. And it's going to cost them everything. Going back to Destiny made fun of the firefighter who was shot and killed during Trump's assassination attempt. Out of all the people to make fun of, why him?
Corey?
Yeah, Corey Compatore.
You gotta be shitting me. Who can make fun of that?
Exactly. Out of all the people in the world, why not? He said that he deserves to die.
The guy who threw himself in front of the bullets to spare his wife and kid.
Right.
That's
and
Destiny
said he deserved to die because he was at a Trump rally. And so, again, Destiny calls Trump a fascist, and then he says, those who oppose my ideas and go to rallies opposing my ideas deserve to die, which is a textbook definition of fascism. So we're at the point now where the real fascists.
It's the same as your governor.
Yeah. The real fascists.
We're talking about we don't want kings, we don't want tyrants, but if that woman comes to California, she may die.
Yeah.
Who the fuck not even Mussolini would have been so crass.
Well, also, he just ensured that Kristi Noem is going to bring the most hard-ass goons who work for the federal government, and somebody wearing suits and dark glasses is going to pay the governor a visit, and he's not going to like what they tell him, and hopefully they'll throw a manila envelope of photographs on the desk and say, this is what we photographed you doing, Sparky. No, the state, This state is full of people who vote 100% based on their hatred of conservatives. And when that's your raison d'etre, then there's no hope for you. When I vote, I don't have leftists in mind at all. I'm thinking 100% about the issue and how it's going to be solved by the person I'm going to vote for. But when leftists vote, they're sitting there going, this'll fix them. This'll make them really pissed off. I mean, that's not functional.
No. Well, that's what leads people to say, mistreat their audiences, lose their funny, and get fired.
Yeah.
Do you have any problem with Jimmy Kimmel biting the pillow?
No, of course not. Okay, for one thing, it's not cancel culture. Cancel culture is if I went into your history and I discovered that 25 years ago you called somebody an archaic term for black people, or you quoted somebody. You quoted a poem that used a term that is not considered politically correct today. And so you lose your job, you lose everything. That's cancel.
Oh, you mean like they did to Al Franken?
Say it again. They did to who?
To their own, like say Al Franken.
Al Franken, Larry Summers. Larry Summers was a professor at Harvard, and he was asked by the administration to give a controversial speech about why more women aren't in the hard sciences. So he did. And the women in the audience who were in the hard sciences started talking about how they were on the verge of fainting. They'd never heard anything so horrible in their life. So Larry Summers did what his administration asked him to do, and as a result, they fired him over words that made allegedly adult scientists feel like they're going to pass out. I mean,
which means they shouldn't be in any position of responsibility.
Of course not. No, can you imagine a heart surgeon and somebody says, women aren't interested in science? She goes, oh my God, where's the fainting couch? That's cancel culture. What happened to Jimmy Kimmel was, number one, in the peak demographic, he was bringing in 165,000 people. Number two,
165,000
out of a country of 330 million.
Yeah, out of, as compared to Joe Rogan's 20 million, maybe.
Yeah. And
no wonder I don't know anybody who watched Kimmel.
What Jimmy Kimmel was planning on doing, apparently, from what I've heard, is that he was going to go whole hog on the notion that Charlie Kirk's murderer is a Trump supporter. And he was also going to essentially say that Charlie Kirk deserved to die because he created a monster that came back and bit him. And ABC understood that this would be horrible for their reputation, and they exercised the clause in their contract that he was
even before ABC decided anything. Sinclair, with 40,000 stations and Nextel, notified ABC that they were dropping the show from their stations, which means that for ABC, the revenue would drop 80%.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're paying this moron 4 times more than they're raking in revenues, not to mention the other expenses of the show. It made no fucking sense. So if you're being dropped by the And why were uh, the Sinclair and Nextel, the affiliates, dropping this moron? Because he insulted half the audience and turned them away.
Well, letter writing campaigns today, email campaigns work. And you get 20,000 emails saying I'm never watching your entire platform again because of Jimmy Kimmel. Then and again, Jimmy Kimmel was spreading disinformation deliberately,
Yes,
so for political reasons.
but even so, if you have a waiter who greets every new customer in your restaurant as, oh, fuck, do I have to wait to you? Damn shit, I don't like this. You're an asshole, never come back. How long before you put him on his ass on the sidewalk?
Well, this is the thing that and then on top of it all, we have to go back to that 165,000 number. Even when he was before all of this, they were just looking for a reason to fire him because
Yes.
his ratings were awful.
And by the way, if I were Fallon, I'd be learning to code now because he's next. Nobody
He's
watches
next.
this stupid moron.
No, Colbert had the largest ratings, which were infinitesimal. He got fired. Kimmel was next. Fallon will be next. The thing about these people is that at a certain point, there's no reason for the company to keep them because they're costing everybody. They're costing the company's money, but they're also people won't just say I'm not going to watch Jimmy Kimmel. They say I'm not going to watch anything you host.
And by the way, this is not new. This is old as shit. Bill Maher, and you know I'm not going to defend this shit anyway, but Bill Maher was canned instantly for something he said in a show, and they canceled him, and
Mm,
nobody gave a shit.
no,
Obama is now tearing his clothes off and throwing ash on his face because the government has never been so low. By the way, this is no government doing, so I don't know what the problem is. Wasn't he the one who was on the phone with Iger demanding that Roseanne Barr be canceled because, oh my God, she made a joke about Valerie Jarrett?
yeah. I'll remind our illustrious president that it was his administration that set up a regular task force that communicated with Twitter, and people in this federal task force would read Twitter all day. They would flag accounts they didn't like, and they would tell Twitter to ban that person.
Yeah.
So it's never been this bad. Please spare me, Your Majesty.
And Trump said, by the way, an unrelated issue, that the FCC would look into this because propaganda outfits were abusing their licenses. And if they're not in compliance with their licenses, we can always pull them. Oh, wow, a statement of the obvious. Sue me.
Well, this is the thing. Kimmel was spreading propaganda. Kimmel knows full well that this guy is not a Trump supporter. He knows full well that this guy is the only way he could be more leftist would be if he changed his name to Joseph Stalin.
And planted a Soviet flag in his ass.
Exactly.
Oh, but his family are MAGA, sure, because we never heard of a 20-year-old little shit shacking up with a trans furry and going to Antifa riots uh, because he's pissed at mommy,
No, we'll see.
daddy. We've never seen that before.
The guy's father is a devout Mormon police officer, so you can you could posit certain things, you can pretty much guarantee that there was a certain atmosphere. And if this guy, again, I've said it before, the whole trans movement is actually gay men who refuse to admit that they're gay. So the gay man who wants to become a woman, it's because he can't stand the notion that he's gay. So he says, I'm a woman. And the gay man who's attracted to men can't stand the idea that he's gay. So he says, oh, look, this is my girlfriend. My girlfriend.
We'll just put the balls on the side.
Yeah, my girlfriend has no breasts. My girlfriend has a penis and testicles, but my girlfriend identifies as a woman, and so therefore I am a heterosexual man. And you know that Utah is the state that consumes the most pornography in the United States. So there are issues there. And
sexual repression tends to create issues.
Exactly. And this guy didn't know anything about Charlie Kirk. According to his family, he was leftist for only about a year. So his lover is a radical leftist. So did he get influenced by his lover? Did they influence each other? There's something called a folie à deux, and a folie à deux is a psychological situation in which you have two individuals who alone would not do certain things, but when they get together,
it's magical.
Exactly. And
folie à deux.
And this guy had an online friendship with about 30 other transsexuals and repressed gay men who liked transsexuals. Everybody knew about this. Everybody knew it was coming. He confessed to them. So, you know, it's the whole situation is very easy to figure out, and it's damning for the leftists. It's damning for the Democrats, because they're on record, their political leaders and their organizers and their people on the street are on record saying go out and essentially kill conservatives. You know, and they can't escape that, so they lie and say this guy was a Trump supporter. And it's I
think too that the landscape has changed. 15 years ago, the monopoly of the news by the left was unassailable. Mm-hmm. They controlled everything that everyone read or listened to or viewed in this country. And they could get away with murder, and they did. I mean, you could have Loretta Lynch come out and say, if Trump gets elected, there will be blood on the streets. And there are no consequences, and nobody remembered it. And when 2 months later there were riots all over the country with dozens of dead, nobody took notice, because the press did an excellent job of diverting attention to Russia or some other shit. Today, the independent media plays a more fundamental role in the way that people are informed. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm not saying that independent media is good. I'm saying that it is not dependent on the cycle of government money and propaganda that grapples the networks and the established newspapers. All of these outfits, from AP to NBC, from CBS to NPR, from the Los Angeles Times to the New York Times, all of them survive and survive to this point on government funding. Government funding that takes the form of, say, 200 million in ads from the energy department, 150 million in ads, billion. Well, no, per outfit, 150 billion in ads from the education department, and so on. So if you have friends in government, you have millions pouring in advertising revenue, and you survive even though nobody's buying your newspaper, nobody's subscribing to your online paper, and nobody's watching your TV station. Independent media doesn't depend on that. Some are great, some are so-so, some are worse than the mainstream media. But the point is that they offer an alternative, and more people today inform themselves through a variety of independent media outfits rather than the traditional ones. So all of a sudden, their propaganda is not effective because nobody's paying attention.
Well, remember, it was the mainstream media that told us that Kamala Harris was going to win in a landslide, and they believed it.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Tapper believed it in his bones. It was a done deal.
But he's a notorious imbecile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Brian Stelter, he's still going to a psychoanalyst trying to understand what happened.
Well, the thing about the conservative alternate media is that people built it up and they keep it going. And okay, the murder of Charlie Kirk, we know that the chapters of Turning Point USA have more than doubled since Charlie's murder. And as influential as TPUSA was before, it's now becoming twice as influential. And I believe that the murder of Charlie Kirk created millions of Charlie Kirks willing to put their lives on the line. And there were people initially, right after the murder, saying he's not going to become a martyr. And that's because they didn't know anything about him. They hated him without knowing anything about him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a confluence of things. The fact that it was televised, the fact that it happened live, the fact that it was a guy who was he was no Huey Long. He was not a fiery, shadowy figure. He was no Lincoln Rockwell. He was the head of the American Nazis who was assassinated in the 1970s, something like that. So Charlie Kirk was not controversial in any way, except that he was an excellent debater, and so the left had to see him taken out because they couldn't argue with him. And I didn't know this, but the seconds after he died, somebody began selling T-shirts that people wear, and it's a drawing based on a frame in the film, and it shows Charlie falling to his left with his eyes closed, with blood jetting from his neck, and it says, debate this. So that's an admission that debate is grounds for murder. And
yes.
And a political party that feels that debate is grounds for murder cannot survive. There are far more sane people in this country than there are people like that. There's a huge number of people who believe that Charlie deserve to be murdered because he debated. But they're outnumbered 10-1 easily. And the Democrats will find that out. But they won't learn a lesson. They will continue saying we need to go more and more to the left. That's the lesson they think that they need to learn. And that's fine by me. If they want to march at Charlie's memorial service chanting "fuck Charlie Kirk," that's also fine by me. It's traumatic for the people there, but in the long run, it does incalculable damage to the Democrat brand.
So people doing it.
Yeah.
So people doing it, and let's face it. It's fine by me too, but you need to keep a prudent distance away from the mourners.
Oh, of course.
Because these people are so in your face that they can turn an exercise in freedom of speech into an assault, and then claim that their reply is to the speech and not to the violence of the assault. I saw one of the protesters at the exit of an ICE station, I believe in Chicago, that was dancing in front of an ICE agent, and he was like this far from his face. I can say whatever I want to say. Well, it reminded me of 4-year-olds
Yeah.
in school. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. That is a form of assault, and as long as there is no touching, it's just assault. The moment they touch you, is battery.
Also, these people don't know who they're up against. The feds are not the locals. If you are a member of ICE, you are required to have a certain level of physical power so that, okay, I saw another video. It was a goblin wearing a keffiyeh, and she was standing in front of an ICE agent, and he started walking into her saying, "Move back, move back, move back." And she was trying to not move back. So he put one hand on her chest and he went, whoosh! And she must have flown 10 feet and landed on her butt and didn't see it coming. So
No, like that idiot Congress thing from
Yeah.
Minnesota who was refusing to leave, and then he was arrested, and then she refused to cooperate, and the officer grabbed her and dragged her, and somebody else was coming, so he dropped her and went, and she landed on her ass on the pavement. And the
mm,
Democrats are saying, "Oh, how can you treat somebody like that?" Well, what the fuck was she doing?
well, she was trying to get into the facility. I mean, this is all this particular protest was deliberately organized in order to raise the Democrats' sagging morale, and they're admitting it, and
Yeah,
it's
and
okay.
they're all hands on deck, because you can see in Twitter, in Instagram, everywhere, all the accounts of the politicians from Schumer to Sanders, from Alex Padilla, the Mexican moron, to Ilan Omar. They're all coming out at the same time with the same spiel, more often than not, the same wording,
Yeah,
uh, trying to, gaslight, turn things around. Homan was on the take. President Trump is a dictator. Um, there is the government has no right to arrest people who trespass. Um, and they're doing it. Oh, the new one today was the Republicans refused to vote for a bill that we presented that would have giving a continuing resolution to avoid a government shutdown and resolve the healthcare crisis by extending Obamacare subsidies and I don't know what. What?
Yeah, healthcare for illegals.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. And frankly, I don't think this government should pay our government or our taxpayers should front the bill for the Obamacare debacle to the tune of $1 trillion that goes straight into the healthcare insurance companies. This is not a problem for the insured that sooner or later will be fixed. It's a problem for insurance companies that turned $300-400 a month policies into $3,000-4,000 a month policies because of Uncle Sam pays it as subsidies without people knowing how much it costs.
Mhm.
So put it in the forefront. Let people know.
The problem with the Democrats, they can say whatever they want now. They are tarred with the brush of liars. That's it. They can't do anything about this. Nobody gives a shit about protesters being thrown on their ass. Nobody cares.
No.
The day that Charlie Kirk was murdered, an illegal alien decapitated the owner of a motel. And this illegal alien had been in the country for 8 years. He didn't speak English. He worked for the motel. A washing machine broke, and the owner of the motel was trying to get the guy to work on the washing machine, and the guy doesn't speak English. So the owner of the motel asked a second maid to translate. The illegal alien felt disrespected by that. So he went to his truck and he came back with a machete, and he spent the next couple of minutes stabbing and chopping at the owner of the motel, and then he ended by decapitating him, stealing his wallet and his cell phone. Those are the people that we're getting out of the country. This guy blazed a trail of destruction for the 8 years he was in this country. He was let go multiple times despite sexual assault charges, assault and battery charges. So we don't need illegal aliens who decapitate hardworking Americans. We don't need them in this country. We don't need people who feel disrespected when somebody tries to communicate with him. I guess this guy felt that the owner of the motel should have spoken to him in Spanish. But the owner of the motel was an Indian immigrant, so of course he didn't speak Spanish. And he ended up dying because this illegal alien felt disrespected that somebody would bring in an interpreter. So,
well, how about this asshole? Can you read it there?
read what?
Hold on. Oh, I think I put the wrong screen there.
I see Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay, yeah, no, that's the wrong screen. Let me see if I can get it here. Because I have a couple to share with you. It's not just the crazies like the one you are describing. I spent all day today retweeting messages from ICE. Look at this asshole here. Let me see. Last week, Gabriel Rojas Rodriguez was arrested for indecency with a child, sexual contact. He has an immigration detainer hold. Oh, well, no, poor damn thing. He just came to the U.S. to work, you know. If what else do we have here? I have a bunch. Oh, this one. This one's a beauty. Noel Guerrero Luna, citizen of Mexico. Aggravated assault, family strong arm, domestic violence, possession of a weapon, forgery, and assault. Ain't he a bitch? Oh, I like this one. I'm sorry. This is a different one, but worth taking a second for.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we here? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can read it.
Yeah, and you can see the thing.
Yep.
Jimmy and Roseanne Barrs. And ABC, to their credit, didn't waste any time. They canceled her show today. I'm not a fan of censorship, but this wasn't about free speech. It was about consequences for saying something vile. Saying something vile was the joke about Jared. You can say what you want, but networks don't have to pay you to say it. You can just blame Ambien for that. Well, I'm glad he agrees with us.
Yeah. No, he's got no leg to stand on.
I'm looking for another one. Oh, there's another beauty. This one in New York, by the way, the first one was in Texas, the second in Louisiana. This beauty here is in New York. Luis Gilberto Rodriguez Villalobos, a sexual predator from El Salvador. He was convicted of second-degree rape in Hempstead and sentenced to 3 years of probation.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these little shits are, what can I say? The worst of the worst. Democrats are defending rapists, wife beaters, child molesters,
And murderers.
violent criminals, murderers of. Have they lost their minds?
Yeah, they have, because they're now at the point where, like dogs, they live in the present. They can't see the future. I saw a Korean miniseries, and it was about a man and a woman who met each other by accident and ended up living in the same apartment by accident, and then they decided to have a fake marriage in order to get both their parents off their back and to give each other breathing room. But the man had a cat, and when he first met the woman, she was talking about she just turned 30 and her life had gone nowhere, and the guy said, it's called the problem of the neocortex. That he said, look at my cat. My cat lives in this apartment and eats the same food every day and never gets bored, because the cat doesn't have a neocortex the way we do. So the cat lives in the present. And that's how Democrats have become. They live in the present. They march and they shout, fuck Charlie Kirk, because it feels good at the time they do it. And they can't think about the future. They can't think long term, and they certainly can't think about the consequences of their actions. And so we're going to watch one of our two major parties implode in the next couple of years. They're almost certainly going to get wiped out in the midterm elections. And in 2028, they're going to run some buffoon, if not Gavin Newsom, then someone even worse. And
I'm hoping for Kamala Harris and Buttigieg. It's going to be so fun.
No, we're going to have J.D. Vance. Maybe J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard. I'd be fine with that. Let her be the first The first, well, I guess Kamala was the first. Um, but yeah, I mean, the 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 Democrats can't think beyond the present. So they're doing, since everything they do is based on feelings, they're doing. Remember, there was a phrase in the 50s or 60s called "If it feels good, do it," and the Democrats have taken that to the ultimate level.
I did, by the way.
Okay. Um, I've seen multiple women weeping because they were fired over celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, and they're saying, "I don't understand. I'm a good person."
Yeah,
And it's
no,
like,
you're not.
you're not a good person. You're an evil person, and but you don't understand because you don't know that actions have consequences. You are a 5-year-old emotionally, and you think you should be allowed to do whatever you want, and have nobody ever take anything away from you as a result of what you do. And your boss said, "You know what? We don't want you here. We have conservatives here, and they don't want to work with you anymore. So there's the door. Goodbye."
Yep. People in the chat were speculating if Fetterman couldn't be the candidate. Fetterman, he voted with the Republicans for the continuing resolution. I've seen calls all day for Fetterman to be kicked out of the Democratic Party.
Well, see, they're fucking idiots because he'll just join the Republican Party.
And the thing is, he votes with the Democrats 99% of the time. Once he says, "No, I can't stomach this shit." Oh, then we need to expel him. They're idiots. He's probably his most saleable candidate right now.
Yeah, I mean, they have these purity tests. I mean, okay, I told you my New York communist brother went into this long rap about the upcoming mayoral elections. No. This was years ago, and he finally told me that he was going to have to bite the bullet and vote for the conservative. The conservative was Bill de Blasio.
Imagine that.
Yeah, a Marxist.
The Stalinist.
Yeah. So that was a conservative, my brother. My brother, his view of what's conservative and what's leftist is on another planet.
He's probably all in with Mandami now.
Oh, I'm guaranteed my brother will campaign for Mamdani, and he'll live to regret it.
Who happens to be a rich mommy's boy.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot make this shit up.
Yeah.
You can't make this shit up. God, these people are so stupid. But, it's okay. I mean, the more they want to self-destroy, the better.
Yeah. No. In our form of government, the voters get the government they deserve. So, let
wasn't that Bacon say that and they ought to get a good and hard.
Let New York City elect Mamdani. Let him make an absolute dog's lunch out of everything. Let them all be running around going, and we should mock them. Charlie Kirk wasn't a mocker.
Sometimes he was. Sometimes. I've seen him a few times.
When he was at the end of his rope, but generally speaking, he didn't mock people. And I mock people. I have no patience. I mean, if Charlie Kirk went to a university and spent several hours speaking, how many people do you think he converted over to our side?
Oh, maybe 2.
Exactly.
And I don't mean in a particular university. I mean auto.
Well,
what he did, which is perhaps more valuable than converting a brain-dead moron, was to allow the conservatives, the Republicans, the evangelicals in campus to lose their fear and come forward.
Mhm.
And he showed the nation that in all of these universities run by leftards, there are people that we can count on for the next generation.
Mhm.
How many of those women with rings in their noses and stubs in their tongues and red hair, not red, blue hair, did she convert into a rational, middle of the road American? Not one, not fucking one. They hated him even more because they couldn't destroy him with their charms. Not one. How many of those effeminate little fucks who think that virtue signaling is the alpha and omega of improving life on the planet? Not one. If somebody went there, an admirer of Greta Thunberg and fighter for Palestina, left an admirer of Greta Thunberg and fighter for Palestina. I have no doubt in my mind. Now, all told, since 2012, he may have converted two or three. And people are asking what we mentioned before, if we saw the heat on Homan. Homan, the Biden Department of Injustice initiated an investigation on Homan over allegedly accepting a bribe, allegedly because there is no proof he ever did. Uh, and that was uh, eventually terminated the investigation by the Biden Justice Department for lack of evidence. And now it's been resuscitated by the left wing media and the usual sycophants uh, into Homan is on the take. And it's pure slander.
Well, at some point, the press is going to realize that it's too expensive to keep slandering people. Um,
They're going to make Trump a richer man than he is.
yeah. And then they'll cry about, this has a chilling effect on us. And it's like, well, good, 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 good.
It's and the boss, it's losing. Trump is losing his patience. Did you see this one, Thomas? Can you read it?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna give a moment for everybody. Well, I can read it for everybody else. I think people watching on a phone may have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a post on Truth by Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Pam, meaning Pam Biondi,
Mm-hmm.
Pam Bondi. I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially, same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Schiff to Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. End quote. Then we almost put a Democrat supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past. A woke rhino who was never going to do his job. That's why two of the worst Democrat senators, that would be incidentally Tim Kaine and that weasel. Um,
Blumen-
not Warren. Hmm?
Blumenthal?
No, the other shithead from Virginia. Um, oh God, I just erased him from my mind. That's why they pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media and said he quit and that he had no case. No, I fired him, and there is a great case, and many layers, and legal pundits say so. Lindsay is a really good lawyer and likes you a lot. We cannot delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. Now, of course, the Democrats are already screaming bloody fucking murder because how dare he say that? Well, number one, Pam Bondi serves at the will and pleasure of the President of the United States. He can say to Pam Bondi whatever the fuck he wants to say to Pam Bondi. He can order her to do whatever the fuck he wants to order her to do. And if she doesn't, he has every right to fire her ass. Number one, this is how it works, fellows. Number two, why can he not be frustrated when people who abused and broke the law to persecute him and incidentally you and me in the process to bring them to justice? Why is that wrong?
Well, it isn't wrong, of course. I mean, the Democrats aren't going to say, "Yeah, we agree with Trump. These people should be investigated." The thing is that okay, I study a lot of military history, and the bravest people, the ones who carried out some action and survived, they're different from you and I. The one who crawls into the rear of the flaming plane in order to pull out the tail gunner and that sort of thing. And I don't know about Pam Bondi. I don't know what her deal is. But it could be that she just is intimidated by the monumental aspect of going after these people.
Could be.
And if that's the case, then she needs to resign and get out of the way for someone who's willing to do it.
It could be that all of these is just to shake the cage and see how shift to shift reacts, for instance.
And that's another aspect of it. You have to remember, you cannot take much of what Trump says at face value because it's designed, as you said, to shake the cage. And
I'm not talking, by the way, 5D chess, and I don't think you are either. This is old as Methuselah.
yeah,
It is an old technique to pretend to be upset because nothing is being done, when in fact the indictments are already written down.
yeah. No, I mean, people were bitching that nothing was being done after Trump had been in office for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, fuck them. I don't care. It never occurred to me to complain that Trump hasn't indicted this, that, or the other. And all good things to those who wait.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, since you asked, I think Pam Bondi is damn good. And I saw her in action in Florida in the 90s and 2000s, and she's a very, very, very capable.
Yeah.
In Florida, she was Attorney General. She's very capable, and I have no reason to think that she is really failing. Maybe she is, Shit happens. Sometimes people find, everybody rises up to their level of incompetence, and once they get there, if they are in a hierarchical institution, they stay there. If they are working for Trump, they get fired.
Yeah.
But But I still don't know how much of theatrics we are witnessing right
It's always best to assume that Trump is playing some Sun Tzu game. Um, you know, everybody and their uncle on YouTube is complaining about Trump's approach to Russia, and
now.
they're absolutely unaware that Trump is helping Ukraine prepare to take back Crimea in a lightning offensive. People are talking about, the Russians are building up forces on the border of Finland. 2,000 troops.
Yeah. Oh, and they had a drone over Poland.
Yeah.
And two MiG-31s over Estonia. We were chased away by two F-35s from Italy that happened to be based in that area.
Yeah, Estonia has no air force essentially. They have old helicopters. That's about it. But they don't have any fighters themselves.
No, but the Italian F-35s are based in the area for that very reason.
Well,
and there are 200 fifth-generation aircrafts from the Scandinavian Air Forces.
I just don't understand the idea that you negotiate with Putin by publicly insulting him and threatening him and then saying, okay, now we're going to negotiate. It's not going to work. Putin is a munchkin who has to have his butt kissed by everybody. And it's clear now that he's going to keep the war going as long as he's in office. And Trump knows that. So the Ukrainians now, NATO has admitted that they have the ability to defeat Russia militarily. Not even 6 months ago, they were saying that it had to be a negotiated end. And all the Ukrainians have to do is push the Russians out of Ukraine, and that's the end of it. So they surrounded an entire gigantic unit that became known as the Russian Lost Battalion, and the Russians said, fuck them. And so the Ukrainians killed as many as they could. And
that's how they are the Lost Battalion now.
Yeah. So this, I don't know, everybody is an expert and nobody is an expert. There are no experts. And the notion that Trump doesn't know what he's doing, that he's like this, I've been seeing, we've blown up 3 Venezuelan fishing vessels. It's like, what are they fishing for? What are they fishing for?
Let me see if I can show you a fishing vessel. What are they fishing for? They're fishing for an opportunity to bring cocaine into the U.S.
Well, how many fish swim at 50 miles an hour that the fishing boats have to cash up to? And what are they going to use a gaff and grab the fish out of the water with a I don't know, or how about a harpoon? They have no fishing gear.
I'm going to show you a video. Tell me how many fishing poles you see. And you're going to get a fairly close vision of what happens. This, by the way, was published by the White House. So if YouTube decides to strike a copyright on this, it's going to show that they haven't changed shit. This is public domain.
Caboose!
Oh, that must have hurt.
Yep.
If that wasn't a hellfire, I don't know what the crap it was.
Can you let's see, can you move it back and pause it?
By the way, this is the aftermath. And let me see.
Okay, slowly. Okay. Yeah, go right before the impact. Okay, now go forward just a tad. A little more. A little more. There. Go back. Yeah, see if you can just there. Look, see that overhead?
Yes.
Look at the size of that
On the
fucking
left.
on
You
the
can see
left.
it on
Yeah.
the left.
Look at the
On
size
the
of that
left.
munition
Yeah.
on the left.
For people watching, is on the left the little black bar coming in straight down from the sky.
Yep. So
That is the hellfire. And it comes over there. It shows. It hits.
whatever it was, it had a fragmentation sleeve because you can see all around the boat during the explosion. There's a bunch of little tiny splashes all around the boat. So that means that
Yes.
munition had a fragmentation sleeve that was designed to break apart the
Yeah.
razor
All of them.
sharp. Yep. So
Now, does this look to anybody out there like a fishing boat?
well, how many fishing boats? Look how it's bouncing in the water. It's
Yeah,
doing
it's doing 45, 50 knots.
yeah.
So you have a speed, a speed of I don't know what to call it,
Speedboat.
boat, a speedboat filled with boxes, no nets, no fishing poles. This is not a fishing boat. This is a drug smuggler. And drug smugglers, like pirates, have zero rights in international waters. Zero. None. Zilch. It is perfectly legal and perfectly in accordance with with the Treaty of the Sea to blow them the fuck out of the water. So anybody complaining about this can go pound the Caribbean.
Well, again, now the Democrats are defending Tren de Aragua. I mean, they're doing everything they can to lose in the next few elections, and I encourage them to keep doing what they're doing.
Oh,
But
yes.
it's eerie to see such brain dead people. But again, these are the people who were absolutely convinced that Kamala Harris was going to win in a landslide.
Oh, poor thing. But, their newspapers told them so.
Yeah.
I have one more thing to you, because the other thing that they've been doing this week, and it has a lot to do with actions and consequences. A lot of people want Ilan Omar to be sent back to Mogadishu, to her warlord family. And a lot of people are screaming bloody murder. How dare you say that? She's a U.S. citizen now. As if we had never stripped, say, a Nazi of U.S. citizenship and sent it to Germany for trial. We never did that before. Or a Bulgarian. Or anybody else who committed crimes both in and outside the U.S. It is a process that exists for a reason. If somebody lied on their application, if somebody was a member of an organization or a political party that sought the destruction of the U.S. and did not declare it, well, for many reasons, including those, people can be stripped of citizenship. I'm not saying that this woman did, by the way. I'm saying that if she did, and a lot of people believe she did, that she married her own brother to fraudulently obtain his residence and then citizenship, uh, which would have made her unqualified for citizenship. Bigamists are not a protected category. And the other
Okay,
thing is,
Go ahead.
And the other thing is people who actively engage in activities against the U.S. national security. Now,
Okay, here's an article from June of this year. Denaturalization is a tactic that was heavily used during the McCarthy era and was expanded during the Obama administration.
yeah. And by the way, during the McCarthy era, what McCarthy was shipping Nazis back to Europe.
Okay, on June 13th, a judge ordered the revocation of the citizenship of Elliot Duke, an entity who uses they/them pronouns. Duke is an American military veteran originally from the UK, who's convicted of distributing child exactly. And this person admitted and confessed and was stripped of U.S. citizenship. So,
yeah,
this if Ilhan Omar did lie on her immigration papers or applications and everything, then there is a case for her to be stripped of her citizenship.
Now, according to her, well, why should I tell you if I can have her tell you? Hey, where's the sound? Where is the sound here? I can't see the sound. Hold on 1 second.
Well, it's got subtitles, so that's okay.
Yeah. There we are.
oo iyagana isku hiiliya dadka walaalahoodna u hiiliya marka daraad markii ayaan dhexdaas markii aan maqalnay in qaar Soomaali ah ama Soomaali sheegato in Ethiopia.
Did you see the important part here?
Annaga haddii aan nahay dad Soomaali
Go back to the beginning.
waxaan nahay dad isjecel waa laga yaabaa meelaha qaarkood annaga haddii aan nahay dad Soomaali ah waxaan nahay dad isjecel waa laga yaabaa meelaha qaarkood inaan isku xagxagano laakiin haddii runtii ay imaato waxaan nahay dad isku tashto dad walaalo ah dad dhiig lah dad isku og inay Soomaali yihiin inay Muslim yihiin oo iyagana isku hiiliya dadka walaalahoodna u hiiliya.
Okay, that's enough.
waxaan leeyahay
Okay.
So
every now and then, you know, we kill each other, but we know we're Somalians first and Muslims second. That includes her.
well, every now and then is a lie because Somalis are still murdering each other. Somalia, she said that they're organized. They're not organized. They're a system of clans, of clans that you have loyalty only to your clan and you kill everybody else. So this woman does not belong in the United States because she's a primitive third worlder. And she's admitting as much. We're Somalis first. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so you're going to love it back in Mogadishu.
Yeah.
And by the way, she went on that speech to talk about Somaliland and all that jazz, all of which was in opposition to U.S. policy in reference to Somaliland and all that jazz. So she is actively seeking to undermine our national security, our foreign relations, our policies towards specific countries. And she's using her position in Congress. By the way, at the end of that thing, she said something else that I need to put in. Hold on.
waa wadankii gabar idinka dhalatayne ee Congress ka fadhiso intii aniga aan Congress joogo waddanka Soomaaliya biyaheeda dad kaleeta iyo badeeda dad kale ma qaadanayaan waddanka Mareykankana kuma taageerayo dad kaleeta in annaga ayna dhacaan marka taas ka seexda reer Minnesota.
Okay, for those who cannot read, sleeping comfort, she tells the Somali audience, knowing I am here to protect the interests of Somalia from inside the U.S. system. Does that sound like a confession to you?
Well, she's a bullshitter. She's bullshitting her own voters because she hasn't done shit for Somalia.
That too, but to me is the principle. I am here, meaning the U.S. Congress, to protect the interests of Somalia.
Yeah.
And the U.S. will not do anything without our approval. Now, that may be delusional, that may be inaccurate, sophomoric, and even stupid. But it shows a state of mind that prioritizes Somalia over the U.S.
Of course.
That is unacceptable.
She's a third world savage. She's a third world savage who cannot go beyond the clan structure of Somalia. I mean, look at Somalia. Somalia is a collection of clans who spend all their time murdering each other and chewing narcotic leaves. So how is Somalia ever going to improve? It's not going to improve. We have this person here who emigrated to the United States and rose all the way up to the United States Congress, and she's no different than some goat herder back home. She's exactly the same. Her thought process is the same as that of a goat herder back in Somalia. So,
maybe that of the goat.
Well, think about it. You had Bobby Jindal, who became so American he had a Louisiana accent. You had Nikki Haley, who was so American that she had no accent whatsoever. This person is a third world tribal cretin, and she'll always be a third world tribal cretin.
And I'm glad that you mentioned Nikki Haley and others, and I could give you more than a dozen right off my mind. This is not a problem with foreign-born Americans.
No, of course not.
This is a problem with shitheads that refuse to stop being shitheads. There are a lot of people who take advantage of the situation with these obstreperous goats to lambast foreign-born members of Congress. There shouldn't be any foreign-born whatever in Congress. In our first Congress in 1789, 10% were foreign-born. 10%. Today is about 2%.
It's about what?
2. We have considerably less foreign-born people in Congress. Not in absolute terms, because, by the way, today is 2% of 538. And there were considerably less representatives in 1789. So their 10% in absolute numbers is probably about the same or less than our 2%. But for comparison purposes, percentages are better. So we don't have that many foreign-born in Congress as compared to our history. The vast majority of them are dedicated Americans, some better than the locally born. We have people like, I don't know, Ted Cruz, who was born in Canada. I don't think anybody in the audience should have a problem with it. We have people like Alex Padilla, who was born in Mexico, and most of us wouldn't like him anyway. But the thing is that it's a question of who's the asshole, not where was the asshole born. I don't know if
No,
you
I
agree
mean,
with me.
yeah, I mean, there's no there's nothing in the Constitution. There are no laws barring foreign-born people from serving in Congress, and I don't have a problem with it because, in my opinion, voluntary Americans often make the best Americans,
Yep.
and there are exceptions like Ilhan Omar. She's a terrible American, but she's a terrible person. What I've discovered, okay, there's hundreds of videos, maybe thousands by now, of former leftists saying that the assassination and the celebration following Charlie Kirk's murder, made them leave the Democratic Party. Without exception, all the people I've seen making that move are physically attractive. And without exception, all the people I see celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder are physically repulsive. There's a new American stereotype of the leftist young woman, and she's got a gigantic double chin. She got a gigantic double chin and glasses, and you see thousands and thousands of these women. They're all identical, and these people are all repulsive on every level. I think I told you, I watched this documentary about Charlie Sheen on Netflix. It was really good. It's a 2-part documentary.
You did.
And he was in a show called 2.5 Men with the actor John Cryer. And I never watched the show. I'd seen one John Cryer movie back in the 80s. I didn't know anything about him. John Cryer has become this psychotic leftist on social media. And in this documentary, he gets a lot of time because, of course, he worked with Charlie Sheen on 2.5 Men. And John Cryer is one of the most off-putting human beings I've ever come across in my life. He finds it impossible to speak without turning the corners of his mouth down like some angry old woman. The tone of his voice, the words he says, everything about him is off-putting. And Charlie Sheen, the guy who went through this very public mental breakdown, yeah. I mean,
really, he is a dick.
He didn't smile once in the Charlie Sheen documentary. And Charlie Sheen came across as extremely warm, extremely personable. He took ownership and responsibility for everything he'd ever done. He had that spectacular mental collapse in public all those years ago where he was talking about his tiger blood and all of that. And he came across as a person you would really like to sit down with and you'd like to have dinner with and just listen to him talk. And John Cryer came across as somebody who you just could not bear. You couldn't bear the sight of him. You couldn't bear the sound of his voice. He was the perfect leftist male. And there's something to this. There's something to this that leftism, far leftism, draws repulsive people. You don't meet far leftists who are perfectly fine in every way except for their politics. If they're far leftist, they've got so many different things wrong with them. It's really amazing. And
Charlie Sheen survived 30 years of a self-destructive binge.
mm, I can't believe that having
come through that, he's now a far more agreeable person because somehow he exorcised his demons.
Well,
But Cryer, who was never a great actor, was never a good comedian, but was always a very bitter asshole.
yeah.
And that has only become worse with age.
Well, he was hired to play a weirdo in 2.5 Men, which he played very well. He's a weirdo in real life.
No, he didn't play it, he just played himself.
Just to take a break from all of this, Charlie Sheen, you should like this. Did I tell you the Charlie Sheen airliner story?
No.
Charlie Sheen was very big. Charlie Sheen became a global success overnight. And if you're a global success, the first place you go is Japan because they pay you millions of dollars to appear in commercials.
Yeah.
So he did a commercial that took place at a bar, and they had a Western model there, and the two met and they hit it off, and they impulsively got married. They were only married for 5 months. So as they were returning they were on a plane somewhere, and they just had a big fight, and she wasn't talking to him, and he felt really bad about himself, and he felt really angry at her. So he finally said, screw it, and he went to the galley, and he rummaged around until he found 5 little bottles of whiskey, and he chugged them all one after another. And when he finished, he saw the stewardess say, "Oh my God, you're Charlie Sheen." And he said, yeah. And she said, the captain would love to meet.
Don't tell me that's when he joined the Mile High Club.
No, the captain would love to see you. So she took him to the cockpit, and the captain said, "Oh my God, Charlie Sheen, let's take a picture together." And Charlie was drunk out of his mind. He said, "Wouldn't it make a better picture if I was wearing your jacket?" And the captain said, "Sure." And so he put on the captain's jacket, and he said, "Well, how about the cap?" So the pilot said, "Sure." And he put on the cap. Charlie said, "I think it would make a great picture if I was actually sitting in your seat with my hands on the yoke." The pilot said, "Sure." So he sat on in the pilot's seat with his hands on the yoke, and he said, "We're on automatic pilot, right?" And the pilot leaned over and he flicked the switch, and he said, "Not anymore." So suddenly Charlie Sheen is drunk out of his mind. He's got 400 people behind him, and he's flying a plane. And he thought, how did any of this happen? How did I get here? What am I doing? And he said that he could tell that something started going wrong because they all started looking at each other, and then the pilot leaned over and flipped the switch, and automatic pilot took over, and everything was fine. But yeah, he flew a jumbo jet with 400 people on it, drunk out of his mind, and they let him do it. And here he is, all these years later telling the story, and the pilot is obviously long retired, but I'm sure that wasn't anything that the crew told the company when they landed.
No, they would have been fired on the spot.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah,
they must have sworn eternal silence among them.
See, he's full of stories like that. And John Cryer would be one of those guys who monologues and rants. Like if you went out to dinner with John Cryer, he would rant about Trump all night. That's all he would have. He was very upset about Charlie Sheen, and he finally admitted that one of the reasons he was upset was that Charlie was going to quit 2.5 Men, and their ratings were sky high. And so Charlie told his lawyer, "You negotiate the salary and come and tell me what they get." And at the end of the negotiation, Charlie Sheen became and still is the highest paid TV actor in history. And basically, he was the show. John Cryer was.
Was. As a matter of fact, when he was finally let go, they had to cancel the show.
They had to cancel the show. Yeah,
it didn't exist.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the show with any regularity, but I remember the coverage at the time.
Yeah. No, the thing about Charlie Sheen is that he's very personable. He's still friends. He was married 3 times. He's got 5 kids. He's forged a relationship with at least some of his kids. Yeah, his first daughter just got married, and he said, "My daughter's 40 years old." Imagine that. So she got married at the age of 40. So I think he has a good relationship with all of his kids, and he has a good relationship with 2 of his ex-wives. He didn't mention the model, but they were only married for 5 months, and it was an impulse marriage. But the other 2 wives were in the middle of his collapse and rebirth and all of that. And but I was just.
It isn't easy. There aren't too many women that will put up with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so bizarre that Hollywood, they're constantly on the prowl for talent, and then when they get the talent, they do everything they can to destroy the talent. I had multiple musicians tell me that the record companies were the ones who gave them the drugs, you know.
Joe Crocker among them.
Yeah.
The record company gave them the drugs and the booze.
Yeah.
And kept them essentially drunk and spaced out.
Yeah.
From 10 a.m. until.
No, I had two very major musicians tell me that. More than 2, but at least 2 sort of men who were in household name bands tell me that, you know, the first thing they did after getting signed was, you know, they were given crates of booze and, you know, coke and eventually heroin and all of that.
Remember my neighbors, the metal band that I told you about. They had an ample supply of coke and mushrooms and booze provided by the record company.
Yep.
And the apartment was like a drug supermarket.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and again, this is short-sightedness. When Frank Sinatra started Reprise Records, he would sign an act because he figured they were going to be great in 5 years. And that sort of thinking is not, it doesn't exist anymore. And now it's like, okay, models are the same. Models depend on their face for their work. And the agency just encourages partying and drinking and drugs and cigarette smoking and everything that ruins a woman's face in record time. And it's because nobody's thinking about the future. And it's a problem with leftism. There's no long-term planning. Like Obama. Think about Obama. Think about all the stuff he did that is in danger of being exposed now. I remember the last week he was president, it never ended. It was every day there were interviews, and it was like they were acting as if the presidency were being taken away from him in this incredibly unfair act. And it was the longest week of my life. It was just, I'd wake up and it seemed like each day was like 48 hours of this guy just going on TV and talking about how unfair it all was. It was just like, will you just get out of here? It's like you used your race.
I'm laughing because I remember telling the same thing to my wife. I couldn't stand him anymore. Just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Take a week off until the 21st.
yeah.
You're
No,
absolutely correct. It was awful.
his staff is sobbing, and oh, it was just appalling. It just would not stop, and just like could you?
His staff is even comprehensible because they expected to stay with Hillary.
Yeah, yeah.
And now they had to write resumes or start, doing the things that certain women do to get hired in order to get, a posh position at MSLSD or an NGO that would keep them tied up until the next chance. But him, what did he have to complain about?
Well, he had nothing to complain about. He got 2 terms, which is still not the norm in America for American presidents. He got elected strictly because of his skin color, so he got a free ride. South Park, they did all this crap about Trump having sex with the devil and everything, which is what they did about Saddam Hussein. For
Yep.
anybody who's interested, they did nothing about Biden, and they did almost nothing about Obama. So it's like, spare me this notion that these are fearless satirists of both sides. They're not fearless satirists of both sides.
They're propagandists.
Yeah.
They're propagandists. And yeah, sometimes they're funny. But overall, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Like you said, he has sex with the devil. Well, the other one did too. It's like at one point they stop having no ideas and they start plagiarizing themselves.
Oh God, did you hear that Stephen King was dropped by his publisher?
Good, fuck him.
Yeah. I didn't
The guy is an embarrassment.
I didn't see that coming. Apparently, he told one of his best friends, "I've just made the worst mistake of my life," by lying about Charlie Kirk.
I doubt it. I doubt he has the capacity for self-reflection. When when I spent this is September, it's going to be Rosh Hashanah. Shana Tova, everybody, if I don't see you until after the New Year. Or in Yiddish, Agit Yur. And this time of year, I would go to Bangor to have my Rosh Hashanah dinner with my cousin Jimmy and his mother. And they live 2 blocks away from Stephen King. And their backyard connected with Susan Collins's backyard.
Mm.
Mhm. Just to give you an idea of the neighborhood. Susan Collins, whenever we were having breakfast in the morning in the backyard, she would come out and come in and say hello and have a cup of coffee with us. She was a very agreeable person and a complete moron. And Stephen King was infamous in Bangor for his drug parties. Always young people, never a shortage of cocaine, mushrooms, and pot. That moron giving anybody lessons on civility is beyond comprehensible.
Well, Stephen King had one of the craziest, most dangerous stalkers who ever lived. This guy would call every radio station, and he would initially come across as sane. And then inevitably, he would start talking about how Stephen King was the guy who assassinated John Lennon. And eventually, this guy went to Stephen King's house, and parked across the street and yelled at him with a bullhorn and started threatening him. And I remember an interview Stephen King did where he was talking about this guy. And so Stephen King was in Charlie Kirk's boots, and he still didn't have any empathy.
Well, he wasn't sitting in front of an audience. He was in a ginormous house, surrounded by a fence, an iron rod fence, which was the most whimsical thing because the theme was horror. There were demonic allegories and all kinds of shit in there. It looked, in a sense, like the Addams Family house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen this house.
Yeah, except that it was like farther in, somebody screaming with a horn across the street. I doubt he heard it.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, if you go and take a look at the place, there's no fucking way. So it was far removed. I think he would probably exaggerate it. I don't think it was ever an imminent risk of anything. And he certainly never exposed himself the way Charlie did every day of his life.
No, I mean,
because Charlie wasn't a suicidal maniac. He did not want to die. But he was, like many Christians of his particular denomination, a fatalist. I'm going to die when God wills it. So he didn't worry. He went over there because he was on a mission, and nobody dies before the appointed time. But Stephen King is a coward who would never put himself in front of anything.
I saw Matt Walsh. He said he'd been asked this question many times. Would Charlie Kirk think it was worth it to die the death he did? And I thought, who the hell would ask that question?
Number one.
We have no fucking idea what Charlie Kirk thought. And number two, this is one of those, if you could do it all over again, would you do it the same way questions? It's like, this is a useless question to ask me because I had to make the choices knowing what I did at the time. Mm-hmm. Charlie Kirk did not think, well, if I get killed, I'll it wasn't on his mind. It wasn't, he didn't weigh this out and say, in the end, it's worth it for me to spread the word to be shot in the neck and away from my family,
And I'm telling you, though I don't think it's a conscious decision, with his view of the world.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
If God takes me, God takes me, and
exactly.
That's going to happen when God wills it.
Yeah,
and that's it. Which didn't stop him from wearing a Kevlar vest and having security because he had no wish, no death wish.
Well, see, Matt Walsh said that for himself it would be worth it. It's very easy to sit inside your office and say it's worth it to be shot in the neck and die. I mean, that's not the sort of question. It's a question. It's a question that it's a reductive question. It reduces everything down to this sort of 1 + 1 equation, and it's not a 1 + 1 equation because
no. Somebody once asked me, I've done some stupid shit in my life, and somebody once asked me, would you do it again? And my answer was, well, knowing what I knew then, probably.
Yeah, of course.
Knowing what I know now, no fucking way.
Yeah.
But it is a stupid question to ask. Would you do it all over again?
No, the proper question to ask is, if Charlie Kirk were shown by God a video of himself being shot to death on stage the next day, would he go out and sit there and take the bullet? That's the proper question to ask. And I don't
And the
know.
question is no, he would not willingly have parted
Of course not.
from his
And
wife and his daughters.
exactly.
That's an absolute. Of course, he did not expect this shit.
No. And I don't think there's a person on this earth who would make that decision knowing that it was coming. The whole issue about death, you hear people, leftists again, I don't feel safe. They say, well, you're not safe. You're not safe. You could die of so many things at any moment. You could be hit by a car. Something the actor, he was in Three's Company, John.
Oh
John.
yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he had a what was it, an aneurysm or
Well,
something? He just
his artery just delaminated. It just opened up. I mean, what the hell is that?
He bled to death in a second.
Exactly. That could happen to you.
John Ritter.
John Ritter. Somebody could, some crazy person who thinks is hallucinating could kill you on the spot. I mean, you're not safe. None of us are safe.
No.
The only way, and you can't even call yourself safe by just staying in your house all day. Anything can happen to your house. A jet engine can fall off and land on your house.
That is actually place number 1 for unexpected death.
Exactly. Isn't the number one cause of death in the United States a fall, like off a ladder or
bathtubs?
Yeah, exactly. Falls in bathtubs.
You know, I'm not a fatalist, but yeah, I mean, all things being equal, I go out tomorrow across the street and some fucking drunken bastard runs me over, and it has nothing to do with anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I've learned a long time ago, and having lost way too many people around me, death may come at any moment without notice. A friend of ours collapsed in the building of our office with a heart attack, and 2 hours later he was dead. Nobody expected it. We were making plans for the next conference with him. He didn't expect it. His wife didn't expect it. His friends didn't expect it. It just fucking happened. And it wasn't a lunatic. Sometimes, you know, I really consider some of these lunatics part of the natural environment.
Yeah.
And you know, one of these days you may sleep on a banana peel, or a lunatic may put a bullet in your head.
Well, okay. There's these compilations on YouTube of, like, you know, the world. The title is like the world's luckiest people. And it's like somebody steps out of a building, and then right behind them, a 400-pound slab of concrete from the side of the building crashes into the ground right behind them, and they live. Or somebody's taking a break at their job, and they're outside with their cell phone, and in the distance you see this car completely out of control, and it comes roaring through the parking lot at an angle, and it misses this person by, you know, an inch and a half.
I mean,
So one of the closest call I ever had in my life was on the 57 freeway, and I was headed toward Pomona, and it was raining, and I was in the slow lane. It was raining really hard, so hard that the windshield wipers set on fast were barely doing the job. And an 18-wheeler passed me, And then the guy lost control and it jackknifed. So first, the cab twisted to the right so I could see the front of the truck. Then it twisted off to the left, and then the trailer came swinging, and I got onto the shoulder, and the trailer missed the front of my car, and we'd gone onto a bridge. It was about a 3-story drop down to the freeway below. That it was at the intersection of the 60 and the 57, I believe. And the swinging trailer missed the front of my car by less than a foot. And then the driver somehow got control of his truck and he went back in his lane. And that's the closest I've ever come. The only reason I survived was because I take it seriously, the notion that driving is one of the most dangerous things you can do. So when I'm out driving, I don't have the radio on. My head is on a swivel, and I make sure that I keep an eye on everything.
Statistically, not as dangerous as the bathtub, but I get your point.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know the story in June of '83 when I was at Orly West when a bomb from a sala went off. I woke up with body parts on top of me. It could have been me. 50 plus people died. It wasn't my day to die.
Yep.
That's all I can say. Sometimes you have close calls. And I am perfectly aware that one day the close call may be the call. Or I'm going to live to be 99, take Viagra, hump the nurse, and die in my bed. Fuck if I know. I'll tell you when it's done. And until it happens, all speculation is idle.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing that I mean, you just can't plan for anything.
I mean, you can't plan for everything. Or something.
Everything. No, I've come to accept the fact that my life can end at any second, and I accept it, and I'm at peace with it. And there are certain things I don't do. Like I don't take risks just because I do want to be here as long as I can because I want to see what's going to happen. Especially now, I really want to see what this country looks like in, say, 10 years. I want to see just how badly the Democrats messed up, and you have to live long. And I don't know. I'm perfectly happy knowing that at some point I won't be here anymore. But hopefully that'll be for a long time yet. That's what I'm hoping. And if it isn't, I can accept that too. I don't know. This Democrats don't give much thought to their own demise. You could just tell the rabid atheists. I've come to realize that belligerent, rabid atheists who mock the religious, they do so because they're afraid of death. They're in denial about their own mortality, and if they deny all of it, if they deny the possibility of life after death, if they deny, you hear really. I don't mean there are unbelievers or non-believers who are fine with it, and they're also fine with the religious. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about, like, when I was on Twitter, I was once brigaded for about 6 weeks by atheists because all I said was that atheism is as much an act of faith as theism, and that made those people want to murder me. And it kept going for 6 weeks. That was the worst brigading I've ever experienced. And, like, you know, these are people who view themselves as intellectually superior and more advanced, more progressive. They were acting like cavemen.
They're acting like cavemen, and listen, for a good part of my life, I was convinced that there was a glory in dying for one's principles, country, ideas, take it whichever you want, because socialism is a death cult. And it teaches people that dying for the cause is the most desirable outcome for everyone's life. You have it in the slogans, you have it in the patriotic slogans of every country. In Cuba, eh, morir por la patria es vivir. To live is to die for the homeland. You gotta be fucking kidding. These people are schizoid. To live is to die. Wonderful. Very intelligent, very intellectual. These are the intellectual vanguard of the proletariat. Bullshit. Um, Patria o muerte. Homeland or death. Why? Do I have to choose? We have a viewer from Montreal. She writes, Mourir, la belle affaire, mais vieillir. Oh, vieillir. To die is a wonderful thing, but to grow old, oh, to grow old, that beats them all. And I don't like the idea that I once embraced, that dying for one's nation, dying for one's country, dying for one's ideology is in any way, shape, or form glorious, desirable, or in any way acceptable. I want to live for my country. I want to live for my family. I want to live for myself. If possible, I want to help the demise of the enemies of my country. But my purpose is not to die for my country, it's to make that other asshole die for his.
Well, I heard people
They're
say that
very
Charlie.
this, isn't it?
I heard other people say that Charlie Kirk gave his life for his ideals. He didn't give his life. His life was taken from him.
It was taken from him. He gave nothing.
He
He was wearing a bulletproof vest. He had security around. He had no fucking desire to give his life. You can't say he dedicated his life, but he did not give it.
no.
It was taken, and it was taken by a little shit with no brains and no balls. Who
Oh.
paddled at night with a little shit with no brains and no balls who thought himself a woman and wore an animal suit.
And he was so
And
terrified. He was so terrified that the police were going to execute him summarily that he had to get assurances that his arrest would be gentle. That was the word used. He wanted to be arrested gently.
Yeah. And gently place him on the fucking electric chair and be done with this. He should have been in an asylum. You and I have discussed the shit with mass murderers and all that shit, all of this trans violence. The problem is not trans. The problem is not weapons. The problem is mental health. These people should have been in a padded room someplace with a straitjacket.
Well, think about it. After Charlie's assassination, the Democrats started up on the assault weapons ban. The guy who murdered him used an ancient bolt-action rifle. He didn't use a semi-automatic rifle.
No. And a bolt action rifle. You know that when they found the rifle, the casing was still inside.
Mm-hmm.
He loaded one, fired, and ran away. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't even load a second time or anything. And now the conspiracy theories I've seen this week, Thomas, top anything I've seen before. You know there is no bullet.
There's no what?
No bullet. They found the gun, but they didn't find the bullet. So they don't have ballistics that prove that he's the one who shot Charlie. Actually, yeah, the bullet was found and it is in the coroner's report, for crying out fucking loud. Uh, but they're already creating conspiracies around it. And if it wasn't the Mossad, it was the CIA. If it wasn't the CIA, it was some kind of intelligence outfit from the government whose very existence is so classified we shouldn't know it, but apparently the fucking idiot knows it.
Well, Candace Owens was not invited to speak at Charlie's memorial, and one of Charlie's friends said that he had quietly distanced himself from her over the past couple of years as she went off the rails. And she says, no, they were very close. They were as close as they'd ever been. And it was the feds who killed Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, of course. Now, the other thing is, the movement, a 3006 bullet is a 12-gram piece of lead traveling at 2,700 feet per second. It's twice the speed of sound. Now, when 11 grams travel at twice the speed of sound, Mach 2, literally. When it hits with a force of 1 ton at 150 yards. 1 ton.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the vest would have stopped that bullet? I don't think so.
No, he was. I mean, okay, I've heard he was wearing a vest. I don't know. If so, it was at most a level 3 vest for handgun.
Yeah, in one.
So a 30-06 has, I believe, I could be wrong about this, I believe it has twice the energy of an AR-15 or M16 bullet because it's gigantic.
It is.
The M16 essentially fires a 22 caliber bullet, but it's got a massive casing. And if you look at the 5.56 round for the AR-15, the 30-06 is like this, and
Yeah.
the 5.56 round goes faster, but the 30-06 is a deer rifle, and it dumps so much energy into the target that it would penetrate a 30-06 at 150 yards would probably penetrate most military grade vests. And Charlie was definitely not wearing a military grade vest. He was wearing a soft level 3.
He was wearing something that would have stopped.
A pistol.
A pistol with a 120 grain bullet.
They were expecting somebody at the microphone to pull a weapon. That's what they were expecting.
That's what they were. That's what he was prepared for.
Yep.
And it was a last resort because his security was standing by and watching the people near him like hawks, not scanning the field.
Well, he always said, I'm not going to be shot at a college. You know, it's a college. It's not going to happen. And
Yes, the,
my
the
guess,
very reason, the very reason that weapons are not permitted in the college is what gives the shooter an advantage.
Mhm.
And people don't realize that you're not safe. The most unsafe place in America is a school, a college, a movie theater, and a mall.
yeah, yeah,
If I see a sign, no guns allowed, I don't go in.
yeah. I mean, there was a mass shooter, I believe, in the Pacific Northwest. And the second the guy came out, some kid who had a legal concealed carry leaned against a pillar all the way across the mall and
Yep,
shot the guy and killed him before he could even get started.
yep, I remember that in the food court.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it happens all over the country. It
Mhm.
happens every week that somebody stops a shooter. But you know, I'm going to colleges. I'm not going to be shot in a college. That's precisely where you can be shot. Just for everybody out there. Um, People are asking in the chat, what happened with Candace Owens? Well, I think we told you 3 years ago she was a fucking grifter, didn't we?
She's a grifter, but she hates Jewish people
Well,
because
yeah, that
Black Americans have a big problem with Jewish people.
yes,
Um, and she got fired from the Daily Wire because she insisted on trying to convert Jews to her form of Christianity. And they gave her multiple chances. They told her, you can't do this at our workplace. And so finally they fired her. And she's losing her audience, so she's getting more and more radical. Okay, did you hear there's some original YouTuber. He started he was one of the first YouTubers, and he's a reaction guy. He doesn't react in the way most people do. Most people, when they react to a video, they put themselves in the corner and they play the whole video. And what this guy does is he reacts verbally. He doesn't show the video. And he's got, tens of millions of followers. Some British woman came out of the woodworks and said that he was her father and that he'd abandoned the mother because he didn't want to be a father. And her TikTok got 70 million views or something like that. And finally this guy had to come out, and she provided photos, but they were AI photos. And finally this guy had to come out and he had to debunk everything. And she kept going, and then she finally admitted that she'd made it all up in a last-ditch attempt to go viral and build her channel. And she went viral for that one video, and then she went back down to 0 views. Right. And so Candace Owens now is trying to go viral by saying things like,
the Jews did it.
Well, also, okay, she now claims that Macron's wife, what's her name, Marianne?
She's a man.
Well, she's been saying that. But
she's ugly, but
what's her name? Marianne?
No, it's not Marianne. Let me look. I didn't expect this Macron's wife. Brigitte,
okay. Now Candace is claiming that Brigitte Macron was part of the Stanford prison experiment.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and that the serial number she wore on her prison shirt matches some CIA case number serial number, and so it's just she's just pulling shit.
Actually, I think she's one. I think Candace is one of the Stepford wives who got herself into the oven and got burnt, and that's why she's black.
Well, the thing about these people like Candace, once you start that downward trend, you may go viral for a day or two, and then you just keep going down, and you get crazier and crazier and crazier, like saying Brigitte Macron was part of the Stanford prison experiment. I mean,
yeah, it's like she's desperately looking for the next crazy shit.
Yeah,
it's going to have some kind of bite.
Yeah, but she's not going to go back to where she was before, ever.
No, and she's become radioactive.
That's why she wasn't invited to speak at Charlie Kirk's memorial service.
No, and she wouldn't be welcomed as a spectator.
No.
She would probably be escorted out of the room. I don't think she's going to be welcomed at anything Trump.
Well, see, it was Candace Owens who either started or popularized the conspiracy that Charlie was murdered by Israel because he'd recently begun turning against Israel.
She practically started it.
Yeah.
Mossad killed him because he had turned against Israel.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Well, show me the public statements he made where he turned against Israel. If he privately turned against Israel,
if Israel were to kill people who criticize Israel, the world population would be reduced by 30%.
Well, apparently Netanyahu had to deny one Candace Owens claim twice. That some Israeli official had threatened Charlie because, either you shut up or we'll kill you.
Ridiculous. I mean, take a look at how many people on American TV alone say the most obnoxious things about Israel, and don't get me started with Spain or France.
Well,
if the Israelis were going to worry about people shit talking Israel with far larger audiences than this stupid cow.
Well, I just need evidence. If you're going to make these claims, you have to give the evidence.
Right, they would lose count at somewhere around 10,000 dead. It's ridiculous on its face. On its face. And the fact that people entertain this crap instead of just discarding it out of hand, it's depressing. It's depressing. Why would anybody give any credibility to this kind of shit?
Well, the interesting thing to me about all of this, Israel isn't going to stop. Like it doesn't matter who says what, who protests. It doesn't matter if okay, I guess what did the UN say that they're going to recognize a Palestinian state after Hamas is gone? Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Do whatever the fuck you want, guys. This is the General Assembly. 9 countries, I'll tell you, are going to recognize a Palestinian state in the General Assembly, and nobody is going to give a flying fuck.
No.
It is a retarded decision in a body of retards with no practical effect anywhere. And there's not going to be a Palestinian state.
No.
Period. End of story. And the last Hamas hole is going to be dead within, I would say, 60 days now. Because the way things are going, You know that they're so desperate that Hamas today, this morning, actually attacked a convoy, a UN um, convoy, bringing supplies to the humanitarian zone created for the uh, Gazans that Israel wants to leave the city. And they took the trucks and used the trucks to close the humanitarian corridor to stop the people of Gaza from leaving the city. Of course, Israel immediately opened two more corridors to help the people of Gaza leave the city. And this is going to be it.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what they do. I mean, they have to be desperate to try this kind of shenanigan. They're, it is the Europeans who have redoubled their campaign against Israel. Oh my God, children are dying in Gaza. Three, what was it that the witch said? Yes, 380,000 children younger than 5 years old have been killed. Did you say 380,000? There had never been 380,000 kids under 5 in all of Gaza, ever.
Well, also that's news to Hamas. Hamas hasn't made that claim.
No, but what the Italian bitch
Yeah, yeah.
made that claim today.
Well, she could say it's 10 million. Nobody will be able to stop Israel.
No, no, no. And by the way, is it worth 10 million? I don't care if it is 10 million more. I don't think anybody gave a flying fuck how many
No.
people died in Germany during the Allied bombing or in Japan because we needed to finish the fucking war.
Well, Gaza is unique in that the entire population are willing combatants. There are outliers who don't want to be combatants and who have the okay at the rave.
Yes,
I forgot the name of the concert. Anyway,
the Nova Festival.
Nova, yeah. About a dozen rave goers were saved by about 12-year-old Palestinian boys, and they were shown where to hide. And when Hamas had left, the Palestinian boys asked if they could come with the concert goers back into Israel
Right.
because they wanted to leave Gaza.
Because if they went back to Gaza, they would kill them too.
Yeah. So there are outliers, but Gaza is unique in that everybody, as soon as you can walk, you're a combatant. They had in 2014 they had a Hamas military funeral for a 9-year-old who was killed in combat.
Yep. They are, and it's not the first time that they use children. Okay. Poser Index says that the UK will supposedly recognize a Palestinian state on Monday. Who gives a shit? And the party in power in the UK is about to get the biggest fucking whooping in UK political history. Did you see the polls?
Yeah.
When these idiots came to power with only 30% of the votes, I said by May they're not going to have any support, and they didn't. And since May, reform has grown in a way that they're going to get something like 70% of the next parliament, and Labour is at its lowest ever, and Conservatives have virtually all but disappeared.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I like the idea of Nigel Farage as prime minister, but it's coming, baby.
I mean, can he really be any worse than Keir Starmer?
No, no, no. If I were a Brit, I would vote for him, given
Yeah.
the circumstances. Eh, like I said, I don't know. I don't know if I really want this because he could destroy the conservative movement in 2 years as well, or not, or not. But you know,
Well, the Tories did all of that to themselves. This is what's
yes,
so
they did,
bizarre.
and they
They
did it
they
out. They did it out of Johnson because they didn't have TDS, they had JDS,
yeah, yeah.
Johnson derangement syndrome. They had it. They had it by the balls, and they threw it in the toilet because they didn't like Johnson, the
Mhm.
conservatives. They didn't like the guy who took them to the highest power they had since the 1920s.
Yeah.
And
No,
they
and
methodically destroyed him, and with him, his government. And then they realized they had nobody to replace him with.
yeah.
And that's how they ended up where they are. And then they fucked it up in the elections. Because the notion that Labour can get 60% of parliament with 30% of the votes is because the Conservatives were too fucking stupid to figure this shit out. If I showed you district by district how many Labour won with 27, 31% of the vote, and they knew they had, a split vote with reform in this district, and they could have, and they weren't winning, they could have withdrawn their candidate. They could have withdrawn their candidate, and reform could have withdrawn their candidate where they didn't have the votes to win, and there would have been a conservative coalition of reform and conservatives with 70% of the seats. But no, they had to shoot themselves in the balls.
Mhm.
Well, now, what happens in politics with people who shoot themselves in the balls? They're gone.
Yeah.
So now reform is going to run with their cheese. And in doing so, we're going to have a reform government in England. And whatever these fuckers does now, it's going to be undone next year. So I'm not really worried about it. I'm really not really worried about it. Um, okay. Somebody says that Starmer is a real hunker. He's not a hunker. He's a wanker. Somebody once said to me, wanker is a bad word. Yes, I know. That's why I think he is a wanker. Boris didn't do anything, says poor guy. Bullshit. But that is entirely beside the point. You see, this is like the people who went after Bush in 2006 and gave Congress to Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid. This is like the people. This is like the people who went after, the retard former governor of Massachusetts from Utah and gave Obama a re-election. That was a great move, wasn't it? I know Boris wasn't the greatest thing since Churchill. I know it. You don't have to tell me. I don't give a shit. He was a shit ton better than what came after him. God. And not only that, they rescued labor from the cemetery.
True.
Fucking assholes, those Euros. Such cowards won't defend themselves. We're always picking on the Israelis. Well, no, I don't know. It's Trump had private meeting with Starmer. Wonder what he told them. Stop wanking. You're gonna grow hair in your hands, you idiot. That's what he told him. Yes, he did. Yes, so Labour lost another election to Gaza independence. This time in Newham. Vote collapsed by 42% compared with 2022. Labour are finished. I'm telling you, they're dead. They're fucking dead. They would have stayed dead if it wasn't. I mean, Rishi Sunak. Really, couldn't they have done worse?
Rishi Sunak.
What is that comedian Kumar? They would have done better with Kumar.
True.
Starmer is a winking, honking wanker. Okay, I'll take that. Is Trump done saying he'll primary certain Republicans? No, he's not. And he's right with a lot of them. And many of them are not Republicans at all. Some call themselves libertarians, but they're morons, they're idiots, and they end up playing for Iran and the enemies of the US because they're fucking stupid. And yes, if Trump can, in a Republican jurisdiction, where the Republican candidate is sure to carry the election, primary these idiots, you bet. Now, primary them in an otherwise Democratic district where this moderate Republican is their only hope of winning, it would be stupid. But yeah, there are many that need to be primary, and I think Trump will. Starting with that libertarian asshole from Tennessee. Soft shoe shuffers. Beware of darkness and stuff. I have no idea what that means, Gary. Going back to this, where was I get so wrought up talking about British Labour and their love affair with Palestine and Hamas and anything that I saw a woman explaining the Palestinian flag because the green is hope, the white is purity, the red is for the blood the Palestinians have shed. The black is for the Palestinians who died in the takeover by Israel. It's the same fucking colors of every other Arab country because it's the colors of the Arab League, you stupid cow. And they're making up. Yeah, Massey must go, says Movie Time Blues. That's what I was talking about. Yes, he's the wanker in Kentucky. What are you looking at, Thomas?
I'm looking at Arab flags.
Yeah, look at the UAE. Look at a bunch of flags. Tunisia. You're going to see a lot of flags that are derivatives of the Arab League flag. Green, white, black, and red.
Yeah, that's it.
And it has nothing to do with Palestinians.
No.
Who copied the flag from the UAE.
Oh, let's see. Jesus Christ. It's really hard to get good images.
Yes.
Yeah, all they do is they shuffle around the colors.
Yep.
There's multiple countries have 3 bars of color, and then on the left side of the flag they have a triangle, and they just shuffle around the 4 colors between Kuwait they decided to chop off the point on the triangle, so their flag has a square end on the end of the triangle. But yeah, it's the Palestinian flag is not anything special. It's entirely
part of and since it was created, or so-called created, in the 70s, when all of these other flags have been around for 30 years, you cannot make any claim as to any relationship to the Palestinian experience. They just took up the flag of the Arab League because they wanted to become Arabs. They're not. Like most Saudis will tell you, the Palestinians are not Arabs. They're mostly a mix of Greeks, Levantines, Romans, and have nothing to do with the Arab world. How the earth is this allowed to happen? Gaza independence. This is the UK. By the way, in the UK, my darling, 980 people were arrested in a pro-Palestinian, in a pro-Palestine, or rather pro-Palestinian independence protest 2 days ago. 938 people arrested. Another 430 were arrested in London in another protest. I wish we had that kind of reaction in the US. Because even under Labour government, even with all the shit that's going on in England, they're arresting these people. The notion that the UK had fallen to a couple of 100,000 assholes who don't know how to wipe their ass. It's ridiculous. And it's about time we picked up our eyes from the screens of Twitter and look around. You are in London, dear. And I know if you go to certain areas around Elephant and Castle, there's going to be a lot of Middle Easterners, most of which don't give a fuck about Palestine. But the rest of England, the rest of London for that matter, take a look at how many have been arrested for protesting for Palestinian independence in London and environs in the past month. You'll be surprised.
Well, the overwhelming majority of people who care about the Palestinians are white Europeans and white Americans.
Yes. They're not Middle Easterners.
No.
They are the same assholes that make up the fighting force of Antifa and ones of the Occupy movement. They're the same retards that follow Gore Vidal. It's the European left that has always been imbued in anti-Semitism and having a love affair with savages. Now, they're Rusonian after all. That make up the bulk of the pro-Palestina crap. We have almost 2% of the population in the US is Muslim. How many of them have you seen in pro-Palestinian events, other than the regulars?
Well, the
professionals. Yeah, the professionals. They're not there. They're making falafel in Dearborn. They don't give a shit about it. What they're doing is kicking pro-trans people from their school boards. In so many issues, they can be our allies, and they should be. In Chicago, the surrounding suburbs, periodically, you'll see caravans of cars waving the Palestinian flag and honking their horns. Yeah, you'll see that in New York and Los Angeles. And they're all white, rich, middle class, rich and middle class morons. They're not Palestinians. Most of them, no, the vast majority of them are not Muslims.
Well, I mean, they don't even know anything about the region. You see all these women wearing a keffiyeh. Women don't wear keffiyehs in the Middle East. That's exclusively a male piece of headgear.
Yes. Although some are doing it now pour la galerie because it's become fashionable in Europe. But and the keffiyeh is not Palestinian either. They started from Jordan. They can say whatever the fuck they want, but it's a circus. It's staged. There is no Palestine. There was never a Palestine. The Soviet Union and Nazis in Egypt invented the concept in the 60s to fuck with Israel. It didn't exist before. It will not exist after. It's not an indigenous people fighting for independence. It's a bunch of crazies grifting. Or why do you think all of the leaders of the Palestinians are so fucking filthy rich?
Rich or dead?
Well, sometimes rich and dead. The daughter of Yasser Arafat lives in Paris. She has a $15 billion fortune that she inherited from Daddy Dearest.
I think I read she spends $300,000 a month.
Wouldn't surprise me. 50 a month on the apartment alone. And of course, there is the villa in Cannes. I mean, come on, people. Wake the fuck up. Why do you think if Haniyeh had a $5 billion fortune? What you have is a bunch of criminals and grifters sucking money out of taxpayers in Europe and the US, having the great fucking life, and offering whoever the fuck happens to be in Palestine at the time as offerings in the altar of money. They don't give a shit about Islam. They don't give a flying fuck about anything. It's a mafia operation. Take a look at Abu Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, or as I call it, Fatahstan. And you'll see what kind of an asshole and how he's used his position to extract money, to extort money from the West, making himself richer than everybody but Elon Musk. Doing nothing but killing Jews and Palestinians alike. So it's not a country, it's not a nation, it's not anything, it's a fucking grift. Sorry, I have to use the word because it's the only one that fits. Arafat wore one. Arafat started wearing one in Jordan when he tried a revolution in Jordan to topple the king and replace the monarchy with a government led by him. Oh, we've forgotten all of this shit. There is no country in the Middle East that doesn't have the scars of these vandals.
Well, every time they've been given shelter, they start a war in the host country.
Yes, Egypt, Tunisia, Jordan,
Lebanon.
Lebanon. There's no place they touched that they didn't fuck it up.
The hijab was created by Lebanese women who wore it in order to show the Palestinians in Lebanon that they were Muslim and therefore should not be raped.
Right.
That's the origin of the hijab.
Which explains only thing good I can think about wearing a hijab is it would cover a bad hair day. Well, I remember in the 60s, all women in the West wore silk handkerchiefs over their hair.
Mm.
And of course, I remember that no Catholic woman would go to church without one because they were supposed to have their head covered while going into the house of the Lord. And at one point, they stopped doing that. God knows why. But I remember it was the fashion, and if you look around, and sometimes they use it to cover the rolls. You know, when they had to go buy something and they were wearing, those hair rolls,
Mm.
they would put the hanky over to cover the hairdo in the making.
Well, the greatest fashion change in human history was men and women getting rid of head coverings. Men wore hats well into the 1970s. Every man wore one of those fedora type hats.
I still have mine and I still wear it when
Yeah.
I'm wearing a suit.
Yeah. Sean Connery is James Bond. His suit was always accompanied by a fedora hat. And
Yeah, and sometimes a Panama hat.
yeah, and in old photos, queens, the sort of standard image of a woman in the late 50s, early 60s, sunglasses and the handkerchief over the hair tied.
Yeah.
And then the male with her would be wearing a fedora. And
I
all of
still
that
have a
went away.
collection of those.
Yeah.
I still have a collection of those, and I still have the fedora, and I still have the Panama hat, and I still use them, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I always liked them. I'm sorry, I always did. And in a country and a culture where every man wore a hat, every woman wore a hat, every baby wore a hat, Truman managed to go broke with the only store that sold hats in Independence, Missouri. Which shows you the level of his abilities for administration. Oh God. Hats and gloves. It says that
Yep.
my grandmother wore hats and gloves. My mother did. And gloves that went up to here,
Yep.
just shy of the elbow. Because it was part of dressing, of course, not every day, but if it was any kind of formal dinner or whatever, it required gloves. And now, and in the Muslim countries, there are countries where the hijab is common, and there are countries where 90% of the women don't give a shit about any kind of covering. In Morocco, in Turkey, in Egypt, in Lebanon, any kind of head covering for women is reserved for the low classes, for the rubes.
Remember Erdogan's wife wore this dome?
Yeah.
It was exactly like in the movie Space Odyssey 2001, the stewardesses on the shuttle, they had these white domes that they wore, and Erdogan's wife had the stupidest looking. It wasn't even a hijab. It was a dome. It was like she was wearing a hollow globe on her head, and just was it Erdogan's wife? And then remember the reporter who died, and those Saudi idiots dismembered him.
He wasn't a reporter. He was a friend of Osama bin Laden, and a nephew of the supplier of weapons to Osama bin Laden. And you're referring to Khashoggi.
Yeah.
He never wrote an article in his life.
Well, he wrote for the Washington Post, didn't he?
No. Actually, his handler in the Qatar embassy in Washington wrote the articles that were published with his byline.
Well, at any rate, his wife allegedly was a Turk, and she also wore that weird dome, and she was easily. I remember his family saying they had no idea that he'd met someone, was about to get married, and
But that is not something that the fair women of Istanbul wear at all. This is
I've only seen two of them.
Yeah, from tribes in the east. I've known and I have friends, at least 40, 50 women in Turkey. And don't worry, people, I don't have a harem. These are the wives, sisters, and daughters of my friends. And not one of them wears anything on their heads except when they are in the Côte d'Azur, maybe an Hermes hanky with the glasses, which is kind of coming back in there. There are beautiful pictures of European actresses in the 50s and 60s with such attire.
Yeah. I mean, Audrey Hepburn always wore a hat. She rarely wore one in her movies, but in portraits and everything, she wore hats. It starting in the 50s into the 60s. That was when I remember. In Goldfinger, Sean Connery as James Bond makes some disparaging comment about the Beatles. So it was his generation up against the Beatles generation, and he was still dressing and behaving as a man from, say, the 1930s, even though he was only 7 or 8 years older than the Beatles.
Two last questions over here. Deb, the fez is from Morocco. I actually wear one when I go to Shriners meetings, but I don't know that anybody else. There is a short version of the fez that very few people use anymore in Morocco, and when it was fashionable, maybe some people in Turkey. Who was Danny Pearl? Says Michael Brown. Daniel Pearl. Danny Pearl was a journalist, if I recall, for the Wall Street Journal, who went to Pakistan and went to interview people in the Taliban and Al Qaeda in Waziristan. And as usually happens with these poor folk who think they can profit from an interview with these assholes, he was instead kidnapped and he was very publicly executed. They filmed themselves cutting off his head.
Also, it was Khalid Sheikh Mohammed who did the actual beheading.
Yes. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed? No, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was already in Guantanamo. The guy who cut off Danny Pearl's head, I believe, was just killed during the bombings. Let me see. I don't want to give people shit. It says here that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed confessed to decapitating Danny Pearl
Yeah.
as he was lured, so maybe that was it. I may have confused that with another word. I'm glad I double checked. The guy who kidnapped Danny was Ahmed Omar Saeed Sheikh. Um, he was sentenced to death, but then the sentence was overturned by a Pakistani court and he was released. Surprise,
Oh,
surprise.
you're not going to be executed in Pakistan for murdering a non-Muslim.
No, no, no. If you murder somebody's pet, maybe. But an infidel? So anyway, that's the deal. You were absolutely correct, my friend. Sorry, I uh, wrongly corrected you. Um, Reminds me of that meme about two women, one wearing the abaya, the other one wearing Hollywood Booker's outfit, each accusing each other of being objectified by men. Yeah, haha. Uh, the abaya is actually quite a beautiful outfit. A good abaya on a beautiful woman looks absolutely outstanding. And I should say that um, for us boys, there is certain styles of clothing in Saudi that are absolutely wonderful and quite becoming. But anyway, that is, and the abaya is not, like a monk standard. It's a beautiful embroidered dress. Um, I don't know why people don't look more into these things. Anyway, we have gotten to the 3 hours, my friend. So if you'll allow me for 1 second, I haven't said this yet, but we have about 1,000 viewers in between the Odyssey, um, YouTube, and Twitter accounts. Uh, and if we have 800 people who watched us to get to the end of 3 hours, it's like, come on, let's face it, folks, you lions. You cannot live without us. Otherwise, why the crap would you be watching us for 3 hours? I mean, I know I enjoy the conversations with Thomas, but obviously you do too. So make sure that we can keep doing this. Um, for the longest time, I didn't say anything on any show because the revenues from Odyssey were covering our activities. But Odyssey, in their infinite fucking nerd wisdom, decided to mess with a good thing and did away with the payment system and created a new one that so far only 5 of our 100 subscribers has been able to decipher or have been able to decipher. So we desperately need to make up for that loss so that we can continue on stream. And you can do that in a couple of ways. One, of course, by subscribing if you're in X to at the brother line. That's $5 per month. It's a half a freaking latte in Starbucks per month. Don't tell me your budget doesn't allow it because it does for everybody. Buy us a coffee to be shared between Thomas and I per month, and we can continue this. And there it is at the brother line. Why at the brother line? Because it's the only one of the accounts that we were able to monetize so far. If it ever changes, we'll let you know. The other one is our old trusted quadverum.com/support us. These, you can make a one-time contribution of any amount you desire or a monthly contribution. Maybe buy us a coffee per month. Not a big deal. Not a big deal for any one of you individually, but collectively a big deal for us. We need to raise about $3,500 to $4,000 per month to be in a comfortable place and have all of our accounts paid. No, we don't get money from Qatar like Tucker Townsend. No, we don't get money from USAID. Well, not a lot of people are going to get money from those assholes now. But a lot of NGOs got enough money that they shall continue to keep flowing to their enterprises for a couple of years more. We don't get money from billionaires. We don't get money from poor people. We don't get money from anybody. And that allows us to essentially say whatever the crap we want to say without having anybody condition what we talk about and what we say about it. If you like what we do, help us keep it that way. And make sure that you subscribe, decipher the ways of the new payment system. If you are savvy with crypto, you can use the new payment system in Odyssey and send us some AR coins or RV coins. And that will help us continue with these programs. So that's for the shameless request for Mula, because, oh my God, we do have to pay bills here. And by the way, that is for both this channel and the various programs that we do here, and for our forum, SQV or Social Quad Verum, where 40,000 people have accounts, about 5 to 10,000 use it regularly. Many participate actively, many just browse, use it to get information or a feeling for what's going on. There is a lot going on there. People sharing news, recipes, whatever. And Deb, thank you so much. You just sent the thing to quadverum.com/supports. Thank you so much. And please remember to do it. Better yet, do it now before you forget, because we're going to turn this off and you're not going to remember tomorrow. So please stop what you're doing. Do it now. And other than that, tomorrow we have a quad meet at 10:30 p.m. where people can come on screen and we can have an on-screen dialogue with as many of you as have the balls to actually come out, grab a microphone, and say whatever you want. A lot of people, I noticed, Thomas, have been singing the praises of Charlie Kirk for debating anybody that would come up to the mic. We've been doing it here in Quad Meet for 5 years, where anybody can come on camera, which is essentially coming up to the mic, and have a dialogue, not just with me or sometimes with Thomas, but with other quads that are doing the same thing. I think it's a wonderful exercise. And try it. Come over. It's one of the good things we have in this channel. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. on Quadbeat. And for members of the channel, it used to be a lot, now not so many, but I'm still committed to them. For members of this channel, we're going to have a VIP room. Kind of like a place where we let our hair down and say all the things we don't want to say to a larger audience. So, with that, I think I've said everything I have to say. Let me check these guys. Dave Mitchell, if you have a Cash App, I'll send $8. You can do that, Dave, by going to quadverum.com/support us. You can send $8 there. Nothing is going to stop you from doing so. You can do it. I mean, you can do it in Odyssey as well, but of course, you have to have an account with the crypto shit. It's a different thing. So, quadverum.com/support us. That works. Um, and the same guy had earlier said, "Can you all speak about the GCC? Thomas back in the day blew my mind wide open with it." There's one thing we didn't say, Thomas.
Hmm.
Come to think of it. One, you did say that Ukraine was going to take Crimea, and some in the chat didn't like it, and I don't give a shit. I agree with you, and it's going to happen. And Russia is so spent by now that it is now a question of time. At the very beginning of the conflict, I didn't know if they were going to be able to. I doubted it. About a year into the conflict, I said, well, maybe they can. And now I know they will. But we didn't say anything about, and we did speak about Israel and how it was going to finish Hamas in Gaza in fairly short order now. But there is something you and I discussed about al-Shara in Syria, where he essentially in Turkey, in a presser done in Turkey in a visit to Erdogan, he said that it is vital for Syria to have a security agreement with Israel, that um, he denounced that the troubles, the fighting in Al-Suwaida, was a trap
Mhm.
to stop that agreement from happening, and that things have gone kind of back to normal, and that Syria knows how to fight a war but doesn't want to. And it sounds like things are back on track there, and that there might be that agreement with Israel, which of course the Israelis will welcome, although they will continue to intervene whenever something threatens their security for quite some time. I cannot imagine Al Shara acting if it is not with the support of and under the guidance of Saudi in particular. And of course, if you get Saudi, you get the Emirates and the GCC. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've said, I started saying in around 2015 that I thought al-Shara was a Saudi agent because he was captured by the Americans in Iraq in 2003. The photo they produced, he was clean shaven. He looked like an American kid. And he was released without explanation. He's headed multiple jihadist groups, and every single group he headed ended up getting destroyed. When he joined the Al-Nusra Front in Syria, which was Al-Qaeda in Syria, he moved his way up through the ranks until he was in charge. And along the way, everybody above him was killed. And it culminated in a meeting where all the Al-Nusra higher-ups got together in a building, and a missile came flying through the window and killed them all. So he also,
And by the way, there were some nasty Al Qaeda assholes there.
oh yeah, he also the Turks created something they called the National Front for Liberation or something. The worst jihadists in Syria. One of them was the jihadist group that beheaded the Syrian soldier who had a medical condition that made him look like a 12-year-old. He was actually 19 and he was a Syrian. And this was a setup. He was turned over by the Syrian government or by the Quds force. He was taken from a Syrian army hospital. His leg was in a splint. He had IV lines going out of his arms. And the story that the Iranians told was that he was a Palestinian child who these people beheaded. And he was, in fact, a Syrian soldier. His sister identified him, and she provided his documents. And that particular jihadist group joined the Turkish Liberation Front, and they started going into Idlib province where al-Shara's group was. And they were lured further and further into Idlib, and then they were attacked. The al-Shara's men carried out 21 simultaneous offensives, and they destroyed the entire Turkish Liberation Front, and they killed all the jihadists. They didn't take any prisoners. And I knew by then, that was my confirmation that this guy was working for the Gulf Cooperation Council, because all he did in Syria was kill jihadists. And once he was in full control of Idlib, nothing happened. I mean, they didn't have torture cells. They didn't have prisons. They didn't have. It wasn't Belgium. It was a place ruled by Sharia law, but there were no mass executions. There was nothing like that. And they made a peace deal with the Kurds. Everywhere this guy went, jihadists died and peace deals were made. So the fact that he took off his traditional or his military garb years ago, and he started wearing a suit and tie years ago, that's very symbolic. And in Saudi Arabia, there was a big banner put up honoring the Abraham Accords, and it showed all the leaders who had already signed them or who were going to, and al-Shara was one of them.
And he will.
Yeah, he will.
You know, if he survives, which I think he will.
Well, there's just not that much violence going on in Syria, considering.
No, things are calming down, and I remember with Suwaida that I told you the role of of one Druze cleric that I think was part of the what Sharak calls the trap, and I would say the power grab.
Yeah.
But it's working. It's definitely working. And I have to tell people are asking me, yes, the payments to PayPal come to us. They're not payments to PayPal. They're payments through PayPal. PayPal is a merchant services provider. And it is one of the largest in the US, incidentally, and probably in the world. I can't tell you how many times you use a credit card to pay for your restaurant bill, and it's actually being handled by PayPal as well. So, and this is it. Oh, the paper today said that Trump approved the sale of billions more weapons to Israel. Get used to it, because Israel is going to need whatever the fuck it needs to finish the job. And finish the job is not just Hamas. It's Hamas and what's left of the Houthis and Hezbollah and they are kept on reserve because I do believe there was a big meeting that a friend of mine attended about a week ago with Crown Prince Pahlavi, and they were discussing the reconstruction of Iran. They were discussing how to organize Iran in a jiffy to prevent it from spiraling into chaos at the fall of the mullahs, because the conversation is no longer will the mullahs fall? How can we make the mullahs fall? The conversation now is the mullahs are gone.
Mm-hmm.
They will be gone in weeks, if not days. And the problem now is how do we come in and stop Iran from sliding into anarchy immediately, and then see how we can reorganize it and have all of the people and the resources and the money aligned so that they can act in a hurry. Because once the mullahs crap, you're going to need to intervene immediately. And I don't mean you, the U.S. government or U.S. military. That's ridiculous.
The Iranians don't want us to intervene.
No, we don't want to. They don't want to, and we're not needed, frankly, except uh, that meeting with Crown Prince Pahlavi and the Iranian diaspora was attended by people from our national security environment, and it was done in D.C. So
Yeah, and
we,
of course
we are going to help.
we're going to need access to whatever nuclear issue is still there. And we're going to help them, but we're not going to land troops there to keep order.
No, no, no,
Uh,
no, no, no. That would be a big mistake. It's not going to happen.
yeah,
But
no, their own
they need our help, and we need their assistance.
yeah, no, their own army is going to keep order.
Yeah.
Who
So
knows? I mean, okay, Hamas in Gaza has been reduced to carrying out guerrilla style hit and run raids, with rifles. Basically,
yeah.
that's it. And
Oh,
you've
they're
got
walking dead.
you've got hundreds of thousands of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Basij members who may decide to go underground and become a pain in the ass for whatever new government. And that's something that the Iranians will have to solve themselves. My guess is they're going to offer mass amnesties everywhere because that's the only
They
solution.
will. Anybody, and I can tell you now, anybody who does not have blood on their hands has nothing to worry about.
Yeah, and that's what
Eh,
happened in Syria.
yeah, people who are working for the police in Tehran today will continue to do their job as cops, no problem. People who were in the moral police beating women to death, well, they may need to hang. What can I tell you? Is the fate of assholes. Um, People in the army are mostly safe. People in the Quds force are going to have to explain themselves and why they shouldn't hang, but many will. But it's not like everybody's going to be. One of the biggest mistakes that the U.S. made in Iraq was the complete dismissal of the Iraqi army and police force.
Mhm.
Not all of them, many of them opposed the regime. Not all of them had blood in their hands. Uh,
Well, I would say that the overwhelming majority didn't have blood in their
didn't,
hands. And to me, it wouldn't matter if the day before yesterday they were waving Saddam Hussein flags, and today they're
because they
waving
have to.
flags. Just
Because they
fine.
have to.
Stay
I
at
don't
your
care if they,
post.
yeah, I
Stay at
don't
your
care if they're
post.
members of the Ba'ath Party.
No, no.
I don't care.
We thought that once we overthrew Saddam, these people would essentially go about their business and everything would be fine. And nobody foresaw the massive rioting that burned down the intelligence building and destroyed most of the documents that we wanted. So we weren't prepared. We didn't. The simple fact is we didn't go in with enough troops.
Nope.
And one thing I also learned, Iraqis thought that we as victors were going to round up all the cops and all the bureaucrats, all the Ba'ath members and all the army and execute them. And that's why they took off their uniforms and disappeared. And rather than make it absolutely clear, okay, we had a major psychological warfare effort with aircraft that were circling with imams and everything, but we didn't tell them, don't be afraid. We're not going to, to police officers, to soldiers, don't be afraid. We didn't foresee that they thought we were going to treat them the way Iraqis treated Kuwaitis, that sort of thing.
Or the way Iraqis treated themselves.
Yeah. And Iran is different because there isn't an outside force coming in. So I don't think it'll descend into total chaos. There may be an orgy of chaos, but I think it'll settle itself pretty quickly.
Well, if the right people are ready to go in and take charge with a government of reconciliation and reconstruction, then it's going to be practically avoided.
Yeah.
And there are millions of Iranians outside of Iran that are willing to contribute, and there are millions in Iran that are okay with that as well.
No, we have to keep going back to Syria. Syria just spent, it was 14 years in a civil war.
2011.
Yeah. So it was almost a bloodless coup. And there was almost no violence other than the Druze and
the Druze and the thing with the Alawites.
Exactly. Both of those are very sketchy.
In context, it's chicken feed.
Yeah.
In context, it's next to nothing.
Yeah.
This is the violence of the end of the Ba'ath party and the Ba'ath regime and the Alawite control of the country and all that shit. And this is it.
Also,
it's
in both
a transition as possible.
In both cases, the Syrian security forces were attacked first.
Yes,
and they were attacked by the Alawites and they were attacked by the Druze. So,
and they didn't go on a full homicidal maniac rampage.
No.
Okay, now we've added the last subject we haven't touched in a while. Thomas, do you have a last word for us?
Residuum.
Residuum. I like that. By the way, last week was beautiful. I don't know if people realize that the same word exists in Spanish and in most Latin languages, and but I bet you nobody knew it existed in English too. Beautiful selection, and this is not residual.
Residuum.
Residuum, which is obviously of Latin origin as well. And I have it, and people are still asking questions, and it is all fine and dandy, folks, but hey, at one point we have to end, and this is it. Thank you so much, Thomas. Residuum for the rest of you is the word of the day, and this is not Sesame Street, so we're not going to give you the number of the day. And you guys have a good night. Thank you for being with us. Almost 3.5 hours. And I'll see some of you tomorrow. Quad meet, same channel. We're going to put it everywhere. And I'll see you. Good night, Thomas.